All right. Sorry. Because some people will come over to watch these recordings because they missed the session. So let me come over so that I can go brief and faster. So thank you everyone for joining today's session. Today we will cover into list where Falalu will go over through list and show us what is list. But as we explain the concept of atomic habit, where we want you to be practicing constantly. So we have assignments or exercises that we will be giving you every week to cover the concept. And that is part of what we have previously in our repository called 30 Days of Python, which it means we use it to practice every day, 30 days until we finish all this stuff. So how this will work, each one that is called module, you can see module variable, because we already cover variable here, so you'll have understanding what it is. Module operators, we already cover in last week numbers, but we haven't discussed much about them. So there are numbers operators. We also cover string yesterday, right? So here there is more exercises for string. So what we are expecting you is for each of these, you're going to cover do the practice exercises and create a GitHub repository and pull the exercises. So let me go through, for example, for string. If you go through it, you click this guy. When you click this guy, you will see some explanation of string to add more explanation, what we did in the book, more explanation. And then when you finish, then you will see that at the end of the day, you see there is assignment exercise. You can see this is the exercise. You're going to do all this exercise. This one, believe me, when you keep doing this will reinforce your learning. You will reinforce your hands-on experience. Previously, in RO data science, we only use this one because we only give this one and we don't have any class. We only give this one to the student to practice on themselves and submit the exercises. But what happens was that some student told us, oh, we are not from computer science. We don't know the concept. So you should have teach us this stuff. So this is what we are doing. What we are doing is that we now teach you a bit of concept and you can go over through this stuff, read them, learn more, because more explanation here are here. So now we already cover string, you can do string. We already cover operators, you're gonna do this. We already cover variable, you can do this. Now Falalu is gonna cover list. So how can you do the assignments? We'll write more details. We'll discuss the concept of the assignment, how to do that. But what we want you to do is, for the assignment is this. Let me just give you a simple scenario. What we want you to do is create a repository, which you already maybe created. Create a new repository. Call it, for example, RODS DS assignment, assignment, or exercises, something like that. DS Python. We'll write you the detail about the exercise, what you should call this one. Just give you the idea. I will write it and I will share. Then you can say, this is my Python exercises RODS. So this is description of, and make it public, right? And then create clone repository, make it this. So here you have your repository. README. So this is your Python exercises, right? So how can you do this? Now you have your RODS Python exercises, right? So the next thing is you need to clone this repository, for example. And then when you clone this repository, let me show us, for example, using VS Code. I copy this and then I go to my VS Code. Oh, you are not seeing my VS Code. Let me share. Okay, let me share the whole screen. So you can be able to see my VS. Can you see my VS Code? If you can see my VS Code, type yes.
No.
Okay.
Yes, we can see.
Oh, you can see my VS Code?
Yes, we can see.
Okay.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, thank you very much. So what you need to do is
Recording of this.
Okay, started back again.
Oh, it started, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you clone your repository, git clone. This is what we have done. Oh no, but I want to just show you. Git clone. And then, so yeah, so I clone the repository, new window. Let me say open a new window. So I have my new window here. So what you need to do is, now this is your Python exercise that we created. Then you can create a folder here, say module 1. Yeah, you can create it module 1, something like that. You say module 2. So if you look at this, each module, we give it a name. Yeah, so you can see here module introduction, right? 01 module introduction. The way it is exactly here, you can rename it here. The name module introduction, right? And then you can create another folder. What is another module 2? Create another folder. Module, you can see module 1. So here, when you come here, you have module 1, you have module 2. So now, for example, if you want to submit exercises for module 1, for module 1, this is this, right? Module 1, you can go here and then click here, go to the exercises. This is it, right? Exercise 1. So maybe I can do, I can create Jupyter notebook inside. I can say, or you can put any name or the name of the module. You can create a Jupyter notebook, for example, notebook. Let me just say notebook. Don't worry, we will go over this one more detail on how you can do this. YMB, for example. So you can IPYMB. So here you can create, like, for example, you can say this is my assignment, my module 2 assignment, right? You have header and do this. So you can say, okay, question 1, you can write the inside this. You can have, for example, specify this is question 1, and then because this is Markdown, so you can question 1. This is a question, right? So then you can write the answer. You can write the script, Python. Maybe what does it inside this folder, something like that. To specify, write the assignment. So this is just to give you a highlight. I believe some of you have seen the idea, but we'll do a recording. Maybe today we can have 8 p.m. to do another session where we can go over through how you can create the folders, how you can submit the assignment. But this one give you, I think, a brief idea on how to do that. Each folder, create each folder and do the assignment for each module and do submit. Let me give you, allow Falalu to go over this, but just to give you an idea what you are going to do. So Falalu, you can share your screen and take over.
Okay, sir. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. Today we are going to build upon the previous lectures. We are going to talk about list. In the previous lecture, we talked about variables, but the problem of variables that we have covered is that the variables can only hold single value. For example, if you have a name of a person, so you declare a variable called name, then you assign the name of the person. So what if you have a list of items that you want to maybe save into a variable? So in that case, we need list. So at the end of this lecture, we are going to take away with the following. You will learn what list is and you are going to create a list yourself in Python programming. And because it is a list, you can be able to access each item in the list or element in the list. Then you will be able to modify the list because the links can be bigger and can shrink. So you will be able to change some of the items in the list. You can add, you can remove or delete items in the list. And you can organize the list in a format that can be in maybe ascending or descending order. Then because you may like to access some items in the list, and actually they may not exist in the list, you may have an error. So you will learn how to avoid such errors. So what is a list? So let's take a real life example of a list. You may be having a situation whereby you want to go to store or shopping. So before you go for shopping, you may write some items that you want to buy in the shop. So in that case, you have a shopping list. So you can create a list like this. You can have a variable called list here. Then you assign the list of items you want to buy. So shopping list is a real life example of list. Then if you once happen to be a student or maybe class captain, your teacher may ask you to write the noisemakers or attendance of the students. So in that case, you have a list. You write the name of the students or the noisemakers or the name of the students that are present or absent. That one is a list. And another example is a playlist you have on your phone. You may have a list of songs that you have. Maybe you have Biki Biki, Saida K, Jagabaya Karbakasa as a list of maybe songs in your playlist. All of these lists can be empty. You can add items, you can remove items, you can change the items in all of these examples. So what is a list in Python? A list in Python is just a collection of items in a particular order. That's a list. So you can make a list that includes alphabet that is from A to Z, and you can combine the alphabet, the uppercase and the lowercase if you want. It doesn't matter. And your list can contain integers from 0 to 9. You can add as many as you can. Then a list can contain a list of people in your family, like Muhammad, Mariam, John, Mary, etc. And your list can contain anything you want, anything you want. And the items in a list need not to be related. So needn't be related. Maybe you are writing names, so you can include maybe ages, you can include addresses, you can include many other things in your list. Can you hear me? Are we together?
Yes, we
Yes,
can
sir.
hear you.
Yes. So the list of items in your list need not to be related to one another. So it can be heterogeneous or homogeneous. So heterogeneous is just a combination of different kind of items, and homogeneous can be the same kind of items. So in a homogeneous case, you can have list of integers, you can have a list of floats, you can have a list of strings. So list is not an array whereby we have homogeneous items of the same data type. So I will skip this, or maybe we will talk about it. When we talk about mutable, when we say that this variable is mutable, it means that it can be changed. So a list can be changed. That's why we can add items, we can remove, we can delete. Then when you want to create a list, we use this square bracket. We have angle bracket, we have curly brace, we have bracket, and we have this square bracket. So this signifies a list. So we have opening and closing. So they are pairs. Then elements in a list are separated by commas. So when you create a list, you can have, when you have more than one item, so you use commas to separate the items you have in the list. So let's start with this. So naming a list. Naming a list is just like naming a variable. You know the naming convention that we have treated in the previous lectures. We say that a name of a variable must not contain space. All those rules applies to the list. So when you want to name a list, remember the naming convention when creating a variable, because a list is also uh, uh, can be contained in a variable. So lists are named the same way you name your variable. But it is a good idea when you want to name your list, you use letters, uh, digits, or names, but you need to use a plural when you want to name your uh, variable. For example, you can say bicycle as in this example. So instead of saying bicycle, you will say bicycle because it contains different kinds of bicycle, because we say that this is a list. So, and we know that the list contains different items in it. So here is an example of bicycle. So here is a list, and remember we use this uh, bracket and this one, the closing one, to signify that this is a list. So when we run, we have a list. We didn't write the output, so let's see what the output will be. So you see, when you run this, you already know print. Print is a function. It's a function. You give it this variable, which is a list. Then we have this as the output. So when you want to, maybe you want to know what type is this list, we just use the system defined function called this type. So it will give us that the type of this variable is of class list. So let's visualize list. So this is the list. The previous list we've seen here is the same as this one. We have this item, the first item, we have the second, we have the third, and we have the fourth. So how do we access each and every element? So to access each and every element, we need to know the position. So this is in the first position, that is Trek. Commandel is in the second position. This one is the third position. This one is the fourth position. So remember we say position, but Python is using zero indexing. So Python uses zero indexing. There are some programming languages that use one indexing. So which means in the first position or first location, it has the index 0. So if you want to access this one, you use the name of the list, then you use this as index, which we will see later. But what you just need to remember for now is the position 0 has, the position 1 has 0 as its respective index. The position 2 has 1, the position 3 has 2, the position 4 has this. So if you are to create the formula, you will say the index is equals to the position minus 1. The position minus 1. So this is positive index. So the positive index, this indexing go this way. starting from 0 to the end. Sometimes you may not know the number of items in a list until you use a function that will give you the number of items in the list. So we can also have negative indexing, whereby you start from the last items to the first item. So if you are starting from first, we start with 0. If we are starting from the last item, we start with -1 or -1. So remember this because we will visit this later. So lists are ordered collection. So you see that these are in order. This one track is in this, then this one, then this one, then this one. So they are in a particular order. We are not talking about whether they are in ascending or descending order, but they are in a particular order. This one in the first, then this one second, then this one third, then this one fourth. Then you can access any element in the list by telling Python the position or index of the items you want to capture or you want to get. For example, if we want to get the item in the first position, we use 0 because the index is 0. For example, if we write the name of the list, which is bicycle, then we open this bracket, square bracket, we put 0 in it, then we close the bracket, then this one will access the first item in the list. The first item in the list. So let's see an example here. So you see, when we write bicycle and we open this bracket and we put 0 in the middle and we close the bracket, it gives us the first item. So you should always remember when we ask for a single item from a list, Python returns just the element without the square bracket. So it won't return this square bracket because we are looking for the item in that list. That's why we have this track. So we can also use string method we learned from chapter 2. That is title. We can also use alpha, we can use lower, and many other functions that we have learned. So let's see this example. As we have said before, when you want to access the first element in the list, we use 0 as the index. When we need to access the second, we use 1. The third, we use 2. And the fourth, we use 3 as the index. So let's see what happens when we combine this function, when we attach this function to this operation. So what happens is when we write bicycle and we write 0 as the index, what it does, it will just give us this track. The reason why I write it this, we will learn later that a string variable is an iterable. So we can access each and every location individually. So what happens is when we run this operation, we get this value. So getting this value and we call this function title, what will happen is because we say title, then this T will be replaced. So it will be removed and replaced with this T. So when we call it directly, this is what happens. So we have this. So before I continue, is there any question? Because it looks like we are going faster.
So I have a question.
Yes.
My question is, you said if we are starting from the left, we are going to start with 0, and from the right with -1. What if the variables are more than 4? What if they are more than the 4 that you just outlined here?
Yes, if it's more than 4, it means that look at how the numbers increases by 1. We have 0, we have 1, we have 2, we have 3. The next element will take what? Will take 4. The next one will take 5. The next one will take 6. If you don't
Okay.
know the last element, if you want to access the last element, you just use -1. We will learn about this when we are about to close the lecture, when we want to avoid errors. Imagine that you don't know the number of elements you have and you want to access the last element, you just use -1, because when we use -1, it means that we are accessing the last element. When we use 0, it means that we are accessing the first element. Do you understand? For every position you want to access, just this one, if we say that this is position 1 or item 1, just use item, the item or the position, just subtract 1 from it. It will give you the index. This is position 1, just subtract 1. It will give you the index. 1 minus 1 is 0. Then this is position 2, minus 1 will give you 1. This is position 3. Position 3 minus 2 will give you, but then minus 1 will give you 2. This is position 4. Minus 1 will give you 3. You get it? So the next element will take the index of 4. That is, the fifth element will take index 4. The sixth element will take index 5. The seventh will take index 6. The ninth will take index 8. The 10th, 9, etc. Any other question? So let's run this and see the output. Okay.
You said, how can we access the last item on the list?
The last element, you can use this negative indexing, as I said. So you just use -1. We will see it later. Just use -1. You understand?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I understand.
Yes, this is negative indexing. That's why we use this one is positive. This one is negative. If you want to access this one, you can use -2. That you use
So
this.
I have a question.
Yes.
My question is, why does our output still have the in quotation after running the code?
Which one? Which one has the quotation?
That of the bicycles.
There is no quotation, as you can see here. There is no quotation because we use print function here. So it removes the quotation here.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Can you see it? Yes. So let's move on. So now I have a question. Can you create a code that converts a simple string to title case yourself? Here we use a function here. You see, we use a function that converts what we have here, the result we have here. The result will be this one. Now we apply this function to it, to the result, and we get this T converted to capital T. So can you create your own? Can you write your own code to get this result? So this is it. Maybe you can do it later. So this is just a manipulation. The reason why I put this is the more you are getting, we built a complex thing with basic thing you are learning here. So the more you just need to have an idea, just start with simple declaration of variables, then you add some operations, then you get the result. So look at this. Let's say we have a variable n here. So we assign this. You learned this yesterday. So we assign track, which is string, to this. So now this variable is of type string. Now we apply this function from yesterday. This one will give us what? Alpha t, because we are accessing the first position in this string. So this one, n with index 0, will give us t. Now we apply this alpha function. So it will capitalize T. It will just give us a single value T. Now we use this plus, which means to concatenate. Then we say that we need values from R to the N. Now we have this. It means that what we planned yesterday, you can use it to build amazing things. We understand, yes? So let's move to the indexing again. So here we are revisiting the indexing. We say that indexing in Python programming always starts at 0, not 1. In some programming languages, you have a choice. Some have 2, some have 1, and some have only 1. So like C++, C, you all know, and Java, it uses 0 indexing. Likewise, Python also uses 0 indexing. So now let's print the second and the post element. How do we do that? Let's look at this, the list. We have the original list. Imagine that we need to print this one and this one. So we need to access this value and this value. How do we do that? So we use indexing. So look at the index of this one is 1. The index of this one is 3. So here we are accessing the first element. Here we are accessing the second element. So this is the code. We have our original list. This, we are accessing this, and the last one. So we use 1 as the index, and we use 4 to index the first element. So now let's run and see. So you see, here we access the second and the post element. This is the output. And we can do otherwise, as we can go, we can use negative indexing. So to access the last element, we can use this. To access the first one, we can use this one. To access the last one, we can use this one, -1. So you see, we are getting the same result. Here we use positive indexing, and here we use negative indexing. So you have a choice either to use it. It depends on the situation. It depends on the context. Sometimes you may need to use negative indexing. Sometimes you may need to use the positive one. So Python has special syntax for accessing the last element, as we have said in the list. So we use -1. Always, if you don't know the last item, you want to access the last item, you just use -1. Just like maybe when you make copy in your machine, maybe you are typing or you are doing some things with your computer, then you copy, you press Control C. Whenever you press Control V, the last element in the list comes. So it's just like this one. So you are just keeping adding, you put Control C, you press Control C, press Control C. Always when you use Control V, it is the last one that comes. So it's just like this one. We'll talk about stack when we move the subsequent lectures later. So when you always want to access the last element, you use -1, especially when you don't know the number of items you have in your list. So let's see. So you see, we get the last element. As you can see, the last element is specialized. So we have specialized here as the result. So using individual values from a list. So we have all these values. We have 4 values here. So how do we access individual values in the list? So we use the indexing. So to access the first one, we use 0. The second one, we use 1. The third one, we use 2. The fourth one, we use 3. So this is the output. So here we have this variable, we learn how to use this. Then here we apply
Hello, sir.
function. Yes.
Please, what is the function of the f on the message?
So the function of the f, it formats this one instead of using, because we have numerous ways of printing values in Python. So this is one of the elegant ways of using printing values in Python, because it allows you to use the variable name directly in your string here. So when you remove it, you will get an error because it will treat this one as string, as normal string. So it will not output the values in it. So let's see. Let's say we have this print and this. So let's write bicycle. So look at this. Even without brackets, let's use the 2. Let's use the 2. Okay, let's start with this one first. Look at the output. Can you see the output here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it will not treat this one as a variable. We just see string. But when you write f here, it will format this one and treat it as variable. So let's run and see. Sorry. So to put brackets in it, you have to use opening and closing brackets whenever you want to print. So now we have the value. You get it, yes?
Thank you very much. Yes.
So this is how we print the individual values in the list. You just use the index, then you can apply functions if you want. You can apply another function here if you want. So when we run, so this is the output. See, my first bicycle was this. Then here my second bicycle was this. Maybe my third bicycle was this. My fourth bicycle was this. So now let's see whether we understand what we are treated today. This is an open question. Can you make a list of some items from this image? Assuming that we are going to create a list that contains all, maybe some of the items that we can see on this image. How can we do it? Let you say it, then I will write it. Which one are we going to start with? I can see pen, so let me write pen. So how do I go about the second one?
There's eyeglass.
So eyeglass, I just type it like this. Eye glasses, like this.
Sir,
Yes,
can you
sir.
scroll a bit down? Your
No, is it okay? Is it okay? Because we need to understand this. Is it okay?
No.
So how do I change it?
You need to put the apostrophe.
Okay, the quotes like this.
You need a comma first, a comma.
Okay, we need to separate the items, yes? Yes, that's right. Then what? What can we see? I can see 4.5. Do I need the quotation? Oh, I don't need it.
You don't. It's an int.
No, we don't need it. So
it's a number, yes.
Then what?
It's a book.
Okay, there is a book. Then
it's a flower pot.
There is a flower
glass.
pot.
There's glass.
Yes, we write glasses.
Yeah.
Pen.
So what about this? I can see 12 here.
Yes, 12. Yes.
There is number.
Then
there is string.
There is a
so I can see this. look at
And
this one.
also there is array.
Okay, so we have this value. How can I represent this one?
The coffee mug.
So can I write it like this? Then I write 1. I write this. Then I have this. I have DS.
You're going up.
Then I have this.
Oh,
Mommy,
So is this right?
oh.
I don't know, to be honest.
Or do I need to put it in this?
Yeah, yes, you have to. Yeah, exactly.
So these are some of the items. Now we have a list. So which means you can create your own list. Yes? Yes?
Hello? Sir,
Yes.
Ariwa, you have not closed the quotation for Ariwa.
Okay, yeah. So is it right like this?
Yes.
Yes, it's correct.
So now let's run it first. So look, we have issues.
4, 5.
Which means we have an error. It shows us where we have the error is somewhere around this place.
Okay.
So let's run.
Maybe we are not supposed to use a quote.
Look.
It's supposed to have a single quote, or we have a double quote inside of the single.
You say? You say? So we should have a single quote here.
Yes.
Like this.
Exactly.
So let's see. So this works. So which means if we are using double quote here, we have to use single quote inside. Or we can escape it like this. We understand. We will all understand this. We will learn this later. You see, now we have our list. So let's see whether we can access some of the elements in the list. So let's see. How can we access the third element in the list? The third item in the list.
Size, print.
-1. Index -1.
Okay. So we say print.
Item -1.
Item -1.
Items.
-1. Why?
Items.
Why are we going to, okay, items. Why are we writing -1? We are going to access the third element.
We are going to use
third
2, sir.
item.
Use 2.
We are going to
So we
use
are going
2.
to use 2. So let's
Two,
count.
yes.
This is the first item. This is the second item. This is the third item.
I thought it was the last item, not the third.
Okay. So third item will be number 3. So we say 3 minus 1 will give us 2. So when we write 2 here, it means that we are accessing this item. So when we print, you see that we have this. Do we all understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So
Please,
now
can
we
you
know how
scroll a
to-
little bit down so that we can see the print out?
Okay. This is the printout. So we have 4.5.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you.
So to access the last element, we write what?
-1.
Print.
Yes. Items.
So we write -1.
-1. Yes, sir.
So now we have it. Yes? That's right. Yes?
But sir, I have questions, sir.
Yes.
So how can we access this element inside these braces?
Yes, we can access it, but we will see it later. We will see it later. It
All right,
depends.
thank you.
So let's say we have this. Let's start with this. Look at this. You need to know the type of the variable of the items you have. So this one is a string. Now, because it is a string, this one will be in position what?
0.
Yes, this one, 1. This one, 2, including comma. This one, 3. This one, 4. This one, 5. So to access it, you can access it in 2 levels. You can first access it, then you use another bracket to access the other one. So if you want to access the first bracket, you just put 0 here. We also see this later. So we have this. You see it?
Yes, sir.
So we are accessing this one. If you want to access the second one, you use 1. The third one, you use 2. So let's move. So we now understand how to create our own list. Now, how do we change what we already have in the list? Because we
Append.
can change it. We can change it. We can update what we have. We can update the items. Maybe you have a shopping list. Now your wife say that we don't need this because we already have it in the house. So you can update it. We can change it with another. Maybe you are trying to buy Maggi. Now you want to change it to sugar. So how do we change it? So let's revisit our list we have already. So we have this motorcycles list, which contains 3 items. So we have this, item 1, item 2, item 3. So now we have the code. So we have this, we have this, we have this. So here we print the list. Then how do we change the element in the list? We already know how to access the element. We know how to access the individual element in the list using this. We have this, we have this, we have this, and we have this. We access all the individual items in the list. So now what you just need to do to update an element, just access that element or the location of that element. Then you use this assignment operator to override the value in it. So look at this. This motorcycle, look at the items we have. We have Honda, we have Yamaha, and we have Suzuki. Now, this is what we have. Before we update, we print what we have. We print the list. Then, after we locate the first position in the list, then we assign this Ducati to that position. So we are overwriting this Honda with Ducati. So now let's see the output. Now you see before our array was this, now our array is this. So we overwrite, we use this, we access the location using the name of the list, followed by the index, the position we want. So here indirectly we are saying this list, where is this list? Then please locate this position for me and put this value in it. So that is it. We don't care what is there, whether it is integer, whether it is string, whether it is array, whether it is dictionary, whatever it is, just overwrite it and put Ducati in that notation. So this is now the new list. So this is the old one, this is the new one. So you just, whenever you want to update, just look for the position you want to update, use assignment operator, then put the value in it. So the assignment operator works this way, right to left. Yes?
Yes, sir. Sir, in the print,
why we open bracket and put double quote before space update, double quote, comma, to cycles, comma, save. What do you mean by save?
Oh, we will learn about this later. The print function has many arguments. So we will learn about this later. This is the separation. By default, when we use comma, it will just give us a blank space, just white space. So now, instead of white space, I'm saying that I don't want white space. Please give me this arrow as instead of writing the white space, just single space. I don't want it. I just need this. So you can decide whatever you want here. You can say you need hash, 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 hash there. So when you print, it will be hash, hash there. So we will learn about this later. So let's move on. Because we say that a list is mutable, you can remove element in it. You can change many things in it. So we can add elements in this. Now let's see this one. Now we have this with only 3 elements. So when we print this, it will print only Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki. But we can use another function called append. What append does is just like the function you've learned, like upper and lower. So this function also works with the string and also a list. You can append this. You can append to your list. What it does is just go to the last element in the list and add the additional elements you want. So this is how it works. We have our list, then we use .append, then this is what we want to add, Ducati. So initially we don't have Ducati, so now let's print and see what happens. So you see, in the initial list, we have only 3 elements. Now we use .append function, to add another element. So it adds the element to the end of your list. So the append method makes it easy to build a list dynamically. Maybe you are creating an attendance system. So you can start with empty. You can just create an app that you use list. You can use a list is to the list of attendees. You can initialize it as empty. Now you keep adding, you keep adding, you keep adding. Now let's see that in action. Let's say here, when you grown up, you don't have a motorbike, then motorcycle. So you don't have any bike. So that's why we have this empty list. Then later, when we print this, we will see an empty list. Then later, you happen to buy a Honda motorcycle. Now you can append it to the list of the motorbikes you had in your life. Then later, you had another one, Yamaha. You can append it in your history that I once bought this bicycle. Then later you have this. So you can keep building your list using the append function. So now let's see. You see, initially we don't have anything in the list. Then later we append Honda. That's why we have Honda. Then later we append Yamaha. We have Yamaha. Then at the end we have Suzuki being appended to the list of items we had previously. So now we have 3 items because we use 3 different append function. So what will happen? Now I have another question. What if I use motor cycle dot append this? What do you think will happen?
We'll create an empty space.
Yes, how many elements are we going to have in the list?
It's going to be 4 now.
It's going to be 4, yeah, correct. So now let's see. To know the number of elements, we can use len. Yes, it gives us 4. To print it, we use what? We use print. So we can say print, sorry. So when we say print, you see we have this empty thing. So now we know how to add, how to make our list bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Maybe you are creating a website, you want to know the visitors in your website. When you maybe host your website, it's empty list, then you have this visitor, then you add one to it. Maybe you can increment, you can do it in many ways. Maybe you can have a list, maybe you can have a variable that you keep incrementing. Or maybe you need to store the number of visitors who visited your website or their location, so you can create an empty list. Whenever you have a visitor from Nigeria, you add it to the list. From China, you add it to the list. From Uganda, you add it to the list. From whatever, you add it to the list. So you keep adding, adding, and adding. So sometimes we may need to add an element in a particular location. So how do we do that? In that case, we use another function called insert. So insert need to, when you want to use insert, you need to specify the location you want to add that value. So that's why we have the name of the list dot insert, then the index you want to add the value, then the value you want to insert. So now let's reuse our array list. So now we have this list with 3 items. Now we want to add Ducati at the first position. So if we use the previous method we used, append, it will just put it to the last, at the last location. But now we want to put it here to be the first element. Ducati will be the first element. So we use the name of the list, the name of the function, dot the name of the function, which is insert, then the index location we want to add the value, then the value we want to add. So now let's see. So you see now we have Ducati at the first element because we specified we need it as the first item in our list. That's why we have it. So this operation shifts every other value in the list 1 position to the right. This is what happens. So initially we have this. This is the first position, second, third. So when we use this operation, that insert, we say that we need it in this location, the location where Honda is. So it will just shift all these values. That's why this one has been shifted 1 position. This one has been shifted 1 position. This one shifted 1 position so that we can have space for Ducati. So now we have a list. Maybe you have a list of candidates that apply for a job. Now you want to create a final list. We can remove from the original list if we want. So in that case, we have number of methods that we can use to remove an element. So in that case, we are shrinking the list because we are removing items from the list. So there are numerous ways of doing that. We can use the remove function, we can use pop, we can use delete, that is del, and we can use clear. All of these have their own use. So it depends on the context. Sometimes, because we know that some functions return values while others don't return any value. Like print function we've been using, it doesn't return anything. But the count we use, it returns some values. The count we use with the list here, it returns some values here. You say len of this, it returns us some value. But the print doesn't return. How do we know that it doesn't return? Is when we assign the call to the function to a variable. It's not based on the output we see. So how do we remove? So let's start with the first function called delete. So we don't write delete, we write del. So for this one, you specify the element you want to delete. So we know how to access different locations. So here we mean go to the first location and delete that value. That's the literal meaning of this. Go to the first location or first item and delete it. So in that case, if this one is deleted, we will be having only two elements here, Maha and Suffix. Now let's see. So you see, you say go to the first item, locate the first item in the list, then delete it. So the first item is Honda. It has been deleted already. So removing an item using FOP method. There's another way of removing an item from a list, which is called FOP method. So popping is just like popping things from a stack. You can have a stack of plates that you have in your kitchen. So if someone asks you to pick up a plate from that stack of plates, you just pick the first one, the one on the top. So this is what happens with the FOP function. If you go to the top is here. The last one is here. That's what happens when you use a Control-C, Control-C, Control-C. Then you use Control-V, you get the last one, the top one, the last one. Okay, James William, you have your hand raised.
Yes, sir. Actually, I have a question. Now,
Yes.
all the while when you were using method, you actually use the object, then dot the method. But when it comes to delete function or the method you are using, you actually call delete before the object itself. What's the difference?
Yes, you understand method when you see opening bracket in it. So any method or function in object-oriented programming, we call it method. In other programming procedural, we call it function. So whenever we have method, you will see opening and closing bracket. Otherwise, if you don't see opening and closing bracket, it is not actually a method. It is just
So
way of doing things. Yes?
I don't know if you got the question, sir. My question is, if you go back to the delete function, when the delete method of, you actually called the delete, then you now put the object in front, which is motorcycle. But when you were using other methods, you actually called the object, then dot the method. What I'm saying is, why is the delete coming first instead of the way we used to have dot? Then whatever thing we want to do, the method want to call.
Okay, I understand. I answered your question. What you need to understand first, you call this method, and it is not actually method. What I'm saying is, a method is just a name with this opening and closing bracket, as explained yesterday by Shamsuddin. He told you that some methods have some values here, are called parameters, yes, or arguments here, in between this bracket. So whenever you see this, a name with opening and closing bracket, it means that one is a method. So actually this del is not a method. It is just a way of doing things. You understand? That's technically, but you can say a method of removing an item. So if that's the case, you can say a method of removing an item is you can use del, you can use clear. But technically, if you want to know a method, you will just see opening and closing bracket at the end of a name. And this method can be user-defined method or system-defined method. You can create your own method that's user-defined. You can define your method the way you like it. Then
let it try what you want to see. Let him see the result, how it could be.
Yes, this is the result.
So let me just add something, Falalu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. So you remember yesterday I talked about method where I said it does have this dot format. So all the methods that they have that dot format, they are callable function or method. But delete is a keyword in Python syntax. It is not method. Yeah, it's a core syntax in Python. So it operates directly on the object, unlike function that require invocation or parentheses. So it just operate on that object. When you say delete, you can have delete, you can delete, for example, a variable. So you can have, for example, I write something in the chat. If you look at it, I can write something like this. If you look in the chat, yeah, you can delete variable. So you have x is equals to 10, delete x is delete variable. You can delete also as a list as you show. So you can see x is a variable, it's not a list, it's different object. Variable list also is different object, and you can use delete. So delete is not a method that act on object, but it's just a Python keyword that act directly on the object. So don't be confused about the delete as a method that it does not have that dot something like that. Remember method, I said we have method for each object, but this delete can work on a list, it can work on a variable. So you can see it's not specific to one object only. I don't know if this makes sense.
Very good, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So when we come to object-oriented programming, you will understand this better, where we create the classes and we have different methods in that class. So
I also added some explanation in the chat. You can see some.
So you can go to the chat and.
Okay, thank you. Falalu.
Click on it. Mm-hmm. So any other question, Muhammad, Usman? You have your hand raised.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. I said that in case of 2D or 3D list, how can we index it or pop or remove or insert any list in case of 2D or 3D list?
Yes, you can use, it depends. If you have 2D, you just use 2 sets or 2 pairs of square brackets. For 3, you have 3 pairs. For 4, you have 4 pairs. You continue like that. So that's how you access it, how you change it. So it's very simple. For 2D, you just use 2 square brackets. Just 2. Like this, you have another one. Just like what we did to access that calibrate. So as simple as such. So if you have 3D, you need to have 3 to access the inner one.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sir, my question is regarding the output. Sir, can we have 2 outputs under one cell? For example, now, after in the print command for the, like here, motorcycles, can we still run another command to delete the first item? Because I'm trying to do it on my VS Code, but it is not going.
I don't understand. Like what?
From me.
Like this? Are you talking about this example?
Yes. Yes, like running the print command and also the delete command under one cell.
So there is line number. So line 2, print this, print the list, motorcycles. Then,
for example, if you want to delete one item out of that list, can you still run it under the same cell?
Yes, you can run it. You can run as many thousands of lines, millions if you want, in this cell. You can print as many as you can. You can have many print statements. You can have many operations before print statement. Then you can just mix up. You can print. You can have your statement, have this operation. Then you print. You print. You print. You can do it however you like. It will not break the cell. Just write as number of operations as you want. It will just print.
But what is
just like what we did here. Here we print like different 4 lines here. You see, we have this print, then we have an operation, we have another print, we have another operation, we have another print. So you can have millions of operations before you print, and you can have millions of print before you make an operation. Yes, have I answered your question? So we are talking about fourth. The fourth method, what it does is just remove the element at the last position. So let's see. So now you see we have Honda, we have Yamaha, and we have Suzuki. So when we apply this pop operation and we assign the value to this, here we print the list that pop operation was act upon. So we remove this. Now we want to see the list now after this operation. So this is what we have. This is the original list. After the pop operation, it becomes this. It has been shredded by removing the last element. Then what's the elements that we have popped, which is this one. So what you need to, if you look at this critically, you will understand that some functions return some values while others don't. For pop, it's just like removing the plate from set of plates or stack of plates. So when you remove it, it is in your hand. So you can reuse that value. You understand? Unlike delete, we use here, unlike delete. So now let's move on. So how might this pop method be useful? So imagine that you have the motorcycles in the list that are stored in chronological order according to when we own them. So in this case, we can use pop method to print a statement about the last motorcycle we bought. So this one tells us the last item we bought. Imagine that we use append method to add the items. If we use insert method, it would not give us the correct answer. So now let's see this. Now we have this list as before. Now we use this pop. So we have this. This one we take this Suzuki from the list. So when we print, so here we are reusing the items we popped. Maybe you have stack of grasa that you want to create a bandasho. So you take one and make bandasho with it. Then you go and take another one. You make another bandasho with it. Then you take another one. So you can reuse the items you have popped here. So let's see. So now we are reusing it in a print. Sometimes you can make other operations. Maybe you want to reverse them. You want to do this. Maybe you want to do that. So you can have any operation. It depends on your intention. So now let's move on. So popping items from any position in a list. Sometimes you don't want to pop the last element. You want to pop a particular element. Maybe you have a list of people waiting for a doctor. So now the doctor comes and there is priority in the list. You say that I need so patient, then you can use this method to get it. So how do you use it? So we use the same method for, but we specify the index. Maybe I need the last person who comes, or the second or the third one. So you can use this as a parameter to the function or as argument. So now let's run it. So you see 0. So we store the value here, press on. Then here is Honda, because what we have here is Honda. Don't forget we use this function the title so that we can have this converted to capital. So when we run this, you see what we have because we popped this one. So by default, without the argument, it will pop the last item. So if we specify the parameter, then we pop the according to the index we've given. So we can also remove an item by value. Maybe we don't know the position where the item is. So how do we remove it? Maybe there are people who come, but we just want to call the item by their names, not by their location or by their index. So we can just specify the names here. Maybe there's a list of person. If I say Muhammad, you just raise up your hand. So it's just like we have a list of people waiting. Then we can call Suzuki. Then Suzuki will come. So here we want to remove Ducati. So we write Ducati here. Therefore, Ducati has been removed because we said that from this list, please remove this value. From this list, motorcycles, please remove this value. Therefore, this value will be removed wherever it is in the list. But there is one issue. Sometimes you can have, like in this class, you can have Muhammad. We can have another Muhammad at the same time if we are using the first name. Sometimes when we use the combination of the first, the middle, and the last name, we can differentiate ourselves. But sometimes we can have the same first name. So imagine we are using the same first name as we use here, and we have multiple occurrence of value specified. So which means it will just remove the first occurrence. Then you have to use maybe looping to remove the other occurrences. So now we know that a list has items organized in one form, but how we can reorganize it? Maybe we want it in ascending or descending order. So we can, maybe you have a list of values here. We can have a list of integers like this. What if we want to rearrange them? We want to sort them in a particular order. The order can be ascending or descending order. So how do we do that? So now let's print this list and see. So when we print it, look at what we have. Started with 2, ends with 11. It should have started, if we are to rearrange it, it will start with 1, then followed by 2, then 3, 4, up to 11. Now look at it. So we have another function called sort. So Python sort method makes it relatively easy to sort a list. So when we want to sort a list, we use this and another method that we will see. So what this does is it will just change the order of the item in alphabetical order or ascending order by default. So look at our list, which is random number. Then we apply the function dot sort to act on the list. Now we print. Now let's see. So you see now our list has been converted to a form that is in ascending order. So we have it starts from 1 to 11. Now we have this. So for simplicity, because computer assign value for each character, so we are going to use lowercase letters. So when you mix up, you will see undesirable result. So let's, for simplicity, we know that, okay, let's see the output first. So the output, we know that in the alphabet we have, A comes first, followed by B, then C, then D, then S, then T, etc. up to Z. So look at this, how this has been sorted in ascending order. But if we change maybe T to capital letter, you will see differently because the computer assigns values for each character, so you will not see desirable result. So it is advisable when you want to sort strings, list of strings. So you have to convert it to lowercase. You use the lower function that you already know. Then you apply the sort function. So the sort function rearrange the items in the array permanently. So it's permanent. So you can also sort list in reverse alphabetical order. Instead of, by default, we say that it is in ascending order. A to Z, but you can reverse the order. What if you want it in descending order? So what you just need to do, you just apply this parameter reverse and set it to true. It is true that I want this in ascending order or in reverse order. So if you put false, it will be in ascending order, just as if tantamount to not given. So let's see. So you see, now it is a reverse order. You see, reverse order of this. This one comes first, but this one comes last. Audi. So you can set sort list temporarily. You can sort it temporarily. Maybe you have a thing you don't want to tamper with the list, but instead of copying the list, so I just want to temporarily sort it, then do some operations, then I want my list as it is. So in that case, you use a function called sorted. So to maintain the original order of the list, so we use this sorted function. So let's see how it works. So here we are using our list, BMW, Audi, Toyota, and Subaru. Then we print the original list using this. Then we use sorted. Then we reprint the list to see that if the list card has been changed. So now let's see. So look at the output. The original list is like this, but here we apply the function sorted. You see, we say by default it sorts the items in alphabetical order, so it's sorted. But now we are reprinting the list, and we see that it is the same as the original list. It doesn't even change, but we apply this operation to temporarily sort the item. So remember, this one also accepts this parameter, reverse. So you set reverse to true, then it will reverse the order of the list. So here is another example. So we have it reverse. Now finding the length of a list, which we have done it before. So to find the length of a list, meaning finding the length counts the number of items in that list. The number of items in that list. In this case, the number of items we have in this list, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to know the number of items in the list, maybe you can count the number of commas and add 1 to it. So we have 1, 2, 3 plus 1, so we have 4 items. So now let's apply this function len to give us the number of items in the list card. So let's see. So we have 4 items in the list. So this is very useful. Sometimes you want to make a loop. Later we will learn how what we call three programming constructs, sequence, selection, and iteration or looping or repetition. We will see how this len is used. So sometimes you may ask for a particular location, or item, but item doesn't actually exist in that list. So in that case, you can have an error. Let's see. So one type of error is common to see when you are working with a list for the first time. If you are a beginner, is that out of index error. So let's say you have a list with 3 different items and you ask for the fourth. Actually, the list has 3 items, but you are looking for the fourth item. So in that case, the item doesn't exist. It will throw an error. So now let's see. Here, the index of this is 0. The index of this is 1, the index of this is 2, the next element, the index of the next element is 3. But now we don't have the next element. So now we are accessing the next element, which doesn't exist in the list. So what happens? So now you see we have an error because we are looking for an element that doesn't exist. We are looking for the item that doesn't exist. You see, index error, index error. Because so if you see this error, it tells you that the index is the error. So you have to change the index, or you go and count the number of items in the list so that you can use the proper index value. So you see out of index range. So the index you supply is out of range because the range of this one is from 0 to 2. So what you need to keep in your mind is that whenever you want to access the last element in the list, if you don't know the items in the list, you just use -1 as your index, as we've seen. Whenever you want to access the last element, here maybe the user was trying to access the last element. That's why he uses or misunderstood the indexing in the array. So he uses a 3 to get the last element. So instead of doing this, if you know that you are accessing the last element, just use -1. In any case, just use -1. So let's see this. So here we are accessing the last element. So the only time this approach will cause an error is when you request from an item, when you request the last item from an empty list. An empty list is just like this one. This is how we define an empty list. So when you try to access the last element, because there is no element. So when you try to access it, you also get an error because there is no first element, talk less of last element. So when we have a single element, so the index can be 0, can be -1 at the same time, because it is the first, it is the last. So in summary, we've learned a lot today. So we learned what lists are and how to work with them, in how to access the individual item in the list. We also know how to define a list. We use a picture that we grab some elements from the picture. We form an array and we try to access some of the arrays. And we use even double brackets because there are things that inside one string that we try to access. So we know how to access individual elements, even sub element in an array, because a list can contain another list. So we know how to access that, and we know how to add values to a list using a append function. We know how to remove using del and pop, and we know how to add using insert again. Then we also learn how to sort an array using sort method and using sorted. The sort method sort the list permanently, while the sorted sort the list temporarily. And we also learn how to find the length using len function at the end. Then we know how to avoid errors by using -1 if we are accessing the last element. Thank you for listening for today. If you have any question, you can ask. You are free to ask questions before we go. We are on top of time, about
yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Falalu. This is really good session today, and I do believe the participant enjoy it. But one thing I would like to emphasize with the participant is that don't feel this is overwhelming. You are just starting, and things will become more easier, and they will, become known to you all. But just one thing that will make this thing easy for you is through practice. So as I already gave, let me share my screen again. So as I already talked to you about, the REO data science, let me go through this. 30 days of Python, this our practice stuff. You can see we have different modules, right? Different modules. So what we'll be having is you create a repository. For example, let me show you. This is a repository for one of our Lukuman. when we were doing, for example, look at it like, the one, because previously we were in the two and something like that. So this is what you need to do. So you can see this is your repository like this, and you put, okay, this is my exercises for Ario data science, something like this. Can you see that? And now here you can see he even did a table introduction variable. When you go introduction, it will take you what he did in chapter 1, right? If you go to variable and everything, but this is not necessary, but you can specify, you can make your readme, because readme is good in a way that it tells people, oh, this is how what you are doing. And the important of this is this, mark you, when you're applying for scholarship or something, they will now people in IT and data science, they will not even ask you your CV. They will ask you, show me your GitHub, give me your GitHub link. So when you give your GitHub link, they will now go and say, oh, this guy is good. He's practicing. Look at what he's doing. So they will have a very good, respect and, say, okay, this guy, we can hire him or we can give him admission or something like that. So please, this is what we are expecting. So for example, if you go to the his list exercises, if you click on list, so you can see this is the PY. So look at the assignment. Can you see the 5? Look. Can you look at the assignments? Can you look at the assignments? So this is what we are expecting you, for example, to start doing. Start doing with number one. Number one is module 1 introduction. So for this introduction, what will happen is that if you come here, if you open here for module 1, you can see it's only hello world, right? So this is the assignment for module 1. You can do this, so it's not that difficult. If you go to number 2, module 2, this is it, module 2. So you can see this is actually the content. You can read them and then learn some more stuff, and then finally these are the questions. If you finish, you can go to module 3, which is operators. You also read this stuff and learn some concept at the end and something like that, right? If you clone this repository, you can also use this back module. It would, okay, this is not okay. It's not updated. So this is what we expect you to do, to have your repository and share it. We will ask you to, we'll share a Google form where you can put your repository for assignments. This is what we will use to give people certificate. This is what we will use to recruit people for the next stage of machine learning. So if you have your repository with assignments, you have done them, that's what. So what we are expecting you before next week is to make sure that assignments, because now you can see we are now practicing list, right? We are up to list. So if you can actually make sure that you started doing the assignments, aim to come to, maybe list, or aim to come to this, and that would really be great. What we do previously, each day, because we do 30 days, now we truncate it, we make it like 18. Each day, people will cover all the exercise in each module, because we have what we call 30 days of Python. So this will cover this one, next tomorrow will cover this, next tomorrow, all the exercises. But without Saturday and Sunday, but we reduce everything now to become 18, so that it's not something overwhelming. And as I said, now today we learn this list stuff. You will not make it like to your memory until you practice. So if you come to this module for the list, you see how it is. So look at, so they even start explaining what is list, how you can use them, just to remind you what this list is. With more explanation, you can see them. With more, you can practice this while you are reading. So let me give you one scenario, one key idea. Take this one. Don't read programming, you just read it. No, if I were you and I'm learning and I'm reading this, I will not just read it, but I will open my computer and be practicing as I'm reading. This is how you do programming. It's not biology or chemistry that you just read and cram. No, this is not how to do programming. It's not biology or chemistry or geography that sometimes you just put it in. No, in programming is something hands-on. So as you read this, then you open your computer, let me type it. Then you type it and practice. So you can do this as well. And when you finish, for example, you'll be able to see our assignment. So for example, you can see module 5. This is the assignment level 1. you can see as exercise level 2. Yeah, this is tuple exercise, something like that. Okay, so without much further ado, I don't want to take much time because it is already on top of the hour. But what I would say is that please start creating your assignment repository. We'll share a Google form where everyone will submit his repository, and then that will be the assessment for anybody in this fellowship to move into the machine learning. Good. Any question?
Hello,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes,
I have a
go on.
question. The assignment we'll be having, would we name it under our repository as what? Because we won't use 30 day of Python. Would we have a particular name for it? We'll be dropping our answers.
Oh, yeah. So we will share with you the detail about assignment, like for example, how you create the name of the repository. This is a fresh repository you will create, called RODS exercises, and yeah, we'll write the detail about the how you can. But even now you can start. Let me share something. Even now you can start maybe creating the repository, because whenever you even have a repository, you can practically change. For example, let me show you something. So let's assume here, this is our repository for Python programming. So even if you create it and we give you different name, you can change something like that. So for example, this is our repository. If I want to change this name, I can come to settings. When I come to settings, I can scroll, change, because our repository is public. You can change the visibility to private here. You can delete this repository. Can you see that? You can delete the repository. You can even rename it. So if you want to rename it, this is it. You can see that I can write something like this and say rename. This is how I can rename it. So you can start creating your repository and then put in the assignments. Maybe you can say module 1, module 2, and start pushing it. But we'll collect the details of the assignment. Yeah. Any question again? Any question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, go on.
Yes, sir. Are we going to are we going to use the questions for that 30 days of Python?
Question?
What I mean, the exercise questions. Are you going to give us questions, or we are going to use that for the 30 days of Python? I don't understand the assignment.
Oh. Okay.
Did you get my question, sir?
You're asking what are the questions for the assignment?
You said we are going to create a new repository for the assignment. Then I said, what
Yes.
about the questions? Are we going to use that of 30 days of Python, or we are going to drop some questions for us?
Okay, let me share again. Maybe with the English. So what I was saying is,
what is mean that the question that and the practicing number you have to use them.
So yeah, let me explain again. So we said we are going to have assignment, right? Exercises, and the exercises are inside each of this module. So you go create your own repository RODS exercises, we will ask you. And then what we want is, if you want to answer the exercises for module 2, we have exercises in module 2. So what are the exercises in module 2? You come to module 2. Module 2 does not contain only exercises. Look at it. It contains some explanation about the concept. But we are talking about the exercises. These are the exercises. If you come here, exercises module 2. So this is exercise 1, level 1, exercise 2. These are the exercises you are going to submit, write the answer and solve them and submit in your the GitHub repository exercise, RODS exercise assignment that you created. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand.
Yes.
Okay. Any other?
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, do you hear me, sir?
Sorry?
Sir, do you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. So I was trying to clone the repository for Python programming. But when it started, I don't know what's happened, but it's normally stopped when it reaches about 50% in my VS Code.
So maybe you don't have a good internet, I guess, but if you are, I don't know. So you can do this something like that. Click here. When you click here, just download the zip. Can you see download zip? So you can download the file like this. Now, when you download this, you download the repository, then select where you want to save it. Then when you download it, you can take it and put it wherever you want. So maybe this is another option if you have this. I don't actually know what is happening. Maybe your internet, I guess it's your internet maybe. But if you think passes, download this. When you download this, you download everything and put it where you want it to be.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
All right, sir. Sir, you started explaining how the assignment should be done prior to the commencement of today's session. And then you said that we should do it once the session is over. So how do you submit the assignment? Are we going to like make the commits and push it and then?
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah. So we already teach you how you're gonna push something. You do it on your computer and you push it.
Yes.
So that's what we expect. Just push it. When you push it, when you give us the link of your GitHub assignment, when you push it, some people will be here. We say like, okay. Some people may actually think of like, they may not submit the repository assignment. What we have in our last cohort, some people do not actually do the assignment on time and they submit it when we want to give certificate. But they don't know the day you submitted, you push something, the day will be shown here. So if you submit today, our deadline for submission is today or tomorrow this week, then we know the date. So don't bother yourself like, you are submitting, you are not submitting, doing the assignment until some few days, we will know. So if you have not submitted within the specified deadline, then you are out. We will not take care of that. So everything is managed automatically. We know, we can see when you push it, we can see when you make changes or anything. So we will write the detail about the assignment and share it with you so that you know the details and the deadline and when we expect everything to be covered. Yeah, but just give you now the idea on what to be done. Yeah. Any question?
All right. Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. So my own is that I'm not in the Telegram group. That is my major problem.
What do you mean you are not in Telegram group?
Yeah, though I'm also participant because I applied, but I wasn't part of the admitted people. Therefore, I was
okay. Then okay. So what do you want us to do for you? Do you want us to take you to the Telegram group?
Yeah, I want to join so that I will be participating.
You don't know how to join the Telegram group? I
tried to join it to search for the distance. I couldn't get. I was thinking maybe there's a link for it. That's why I was asking.
So please go to our Ariwa data science page.
Okay.
If you go to here, contact us.
Right,
join our Telegram group. If you click here, you will join the Telegram group.
All right, so thank you very much.
Yes. Any question? Any question? All right. So it means maybe people we answered questions. So just to iterate, these exercises is meant to make you practice this concept. I know we have ChatGPT now. You can put it to give you, but trust me, the idea is to get these things learned yourself. If you have ChatGPT to just give you, then you are not learning. Try to do this stuff with your head. When you learn this stuff, you learn them, then you can start using ChatGPT so that, to make things faster for you. But at the concept of learning now that you are learning, try to do it yourself so that you know what it's doing. So the idea now is when you go and give ChatGPT to do this stuff for you, it actually, what will happen is that you will not even understand what you are doing. You would just be using ChatGPT and then you'll not learn. So please, we know ChatGPT can do this stuff, but we don't want you to, depend on ChatGPT, and we want you to practice your muscle memory to make sure that you understand. Yeah. Okay. Any question?
Sir, I'm just checking through the different lists on the repo. But I can't see where it is stated assignment to do. I always see explanation of the things, but there is no place that basically says assignment to do.
Assignment today.
Assignment, like you said, under the different items we'll be doing every day on Python. there will be assignments attached to every part. I'm just checking the repo now.
I will update that one. I understand what you mean. I will update this one maybe before end of the day so that you will have that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I will update that stuff. I will share also the more information.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, any question? All right, so thank you very much for joining. Then we see you next week, and keep reading your atomic habit, and we will share with you the exercises or what we expect you to finish before next week, so that we'll add it in the repository so that you will start exploring and doing the exercise. Thank you very much, and see you next week. Bye bye.